Hello and welcome back to the Final Flight podcast. We're back tonight live too. You heard it here first, folks. We're going to kick off the 2024 flat season. Joe, it's just me and you tonight. Back to the original OGs where it all began. We finally got rid of the fly in the ointment. Are you looking forward to the flat season, mate? You must be buzzing with this one, pal, honestly.
I'm mate, 100%. It's a hell of a way to start, isn't it? Two classics in the same weekend. You know, you see all the best horses come out now. We've seen, Gosden's hit a bit of form here. Aiden's, brought some good ones out elsewhere and then not had a good run of it. But this is where all the good ones start, isn't it? All the good ones want to be out this weekend. You want the best of the best, and I think that's what you're going to see.
That's it, mate. Like you say, we've got Newmarket. People call it the HQ of the flat racing. The 1,000, 2,000 Guineas. It's certainly going to be exciting as sort of Punchestown draws to an end and the jumps kind of finishes. I've still got my jump scarf on. Obviously, I also put this on because we had the sad news that poor Cider Burley passed away today, which is a real shame. So I just wanted to kind of quick message to and say our thoughts are with all connections of the absolute warrior of a horse. But yeah, sad day for the jumps, but yeah, it's very unfortunate. Anyway, moving on to the flat then. So, Joe, we've got the Newmarket Festival, the 2,000 Guineas, the 1,000 Guineas. City of Troy is obviously the big one, so we'll get onto that later. But what we're going to do is we're going to kick it off with a bit of the racing for tomorrow. And it actually starts at 2:25 for us that we're going to preview. And it's the 1 mile, 2 furlong, William Hill Newmarket Stake. It's a listed race. The ground is currently down as good, which is obviously nice for the flat. You've got Endless Victory in here for the old boys in blue, I believe. Even's favourite, currently Whip Cracker. Absolutely love the name of that horse. Caviar Heights. Sedate. This is going to be a running theme, by the way, through the whole flat season.
Yeah.
There's names in the flat that I have no idea how to pronounce. And then we've got Brave Call. I mean, it looks a tight little race. Joe, I'll let you kick us off, mate. What do you think? Is it going to be 1-0 to the boys in blue? Richard be creaming over this.
I know, yeah, it does look very tight. I mean, Whip Cracker ran the other day, was very, very keen. He just didn't seem to sort of see the trip out, but I can't get away from Endless Victory. I looked at him earlier on in the week. He hasn't come for a lot of money. I mean, he's into even money now. But, it's where the boys in blue and Appleby especially shine. Newmarket, he's got a 40% strike rate here, which is unbelievable on the course. I just think it's a horse who's bred so well, and it's a horse, this will just be a stepping stone, to be honest. It's a listed race. If you look through breeding wise, he's the one that definitely stands out. They've clearly brought him here with purpose of this race in mind. Course and distance winner 15 days ago. He done it pretty nicely. Like I say, for me, it looks like a nice stepping stone, and it looks like part of the plan to set up, maybe some group races towards the end of the season, or at least mid part of the season. He's entered in a few pretty high class races. He's entered in the Dante. He's entered in the Derby, which I'm not sure will go there, but he's also entered in the King Edward Stakes, the Group 2. So 2 Group 2s and a Group 1. So he's clearly held in very high regard. And I think he's only £4 off Whip Cracker rating wise, and I think he'll improve massively. Like I say, it's normally a meeting that Appleby targets and does so well at.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, mate, it's a pretty simple race for me. I think I'm with you. I think it'll be very tough to have Endless Victory beat. I think when I looked at that race that he won last time out, I think it even said in the notes it did look a pretty steadily run race. And even though it took him a little bit of time to get going, once he did get going, he kind of picked up and I would say won it a little bit cosy in the end. If you kind of look at the sort of finish, I think coming in here with that experience, and if they can go off a little bit quicker, I think he does take all the beating. He is in Even's favourite, so it won't be really a horse I'd be backing or steaming into too much. But yeah, in terms of the race itself, I think what you've said there, he's obviously got some potentially good targets towards as the season progresses. So I think he'll take all the beating personally as well. So I'll side with you, mate, on that one.
Yeah, especially with races like this. Sorry, you've only got 2 places. There's 5 runners. I feel like it can get a bit tactical. You did have Whipcracker, who was very keen last time out. I believe Caviar Heights was the same. Yeah, he was in the same race. He might be the leader. That's the one thing I do have. I have no doubt that Endless Victory will be the best horse in this race going forward. But a 5-runner race at Newmarket, with horses who've had one run this season and a handful of races last season, it could turn into a pretty tactical affair.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, we've spoke about it quite a lot. The sort of beginning of the end of the jumps and the beginning of the flats, a bit of a weird time where you're having changes in the weather, changes in the ground. You've got unraced, you've got horses first time out and things like that. It can be quite tough to judge. So I'll be keeping your powder dry a little bit. I won't be, maybe just ease your way into the season. I think as you get a bit more of a leg in, you know what I mean. That's what I'll be trying to do anyway. I certainly won't be steaming into Even's favourites, but if I were to have a couple of quid just to see how he gets on, I'd be on Endless Victory. And I do have it on good authority. I was going to try and do a few videos of Rich, but I've struggled to get him uploaded, so I do have a bit of a list. But he is in agreement. He just think Endless Victory would also win. So if you're a big fan of Rich and you watch the podcast, he is on Endless Victory. Shock. The Godolphin Cat would have been out.
The Godolphin Cat would be out. Yeah, it would.
It certainly would
have been in the restaurant.
Yeah, he double booked us. Can you believe it? It's supposed to be a team player of the podcast, and he double booked us for a meal. Absolute disgrace. Anyway, moving on. Right then, the 335 is going to be the next one. This is the King Charles Stakes. This is over 7 furlong. Again, it's a listed race. We've got Boiling Point in here for the Varian team, 9-4 currently. Bold Style for Appleby, 3-1. Indian Run, 9-2. Alaskan Gold, 7-1. Bigger the rest. I quite like winning here, Joe. So I'm interested to see which way you go, and if your expertise have matched mine. Where are you? Where are you going?
To be honest, mate, I'm all over Bold Style again for the Godolphin. It's Boiling Point has such good form as a 2-year-old. It was the Newmarket run in the Group 3, short head behind El Yanabi, but beating Eben Shaddad for the Gosden team, who has form ties with the Man City of Troy. I know he finished 4 lengths behind, but looking back now, that looks pretty strong form, if I'm being honest. You had Military in there, wasn't really fired since. But on the comeback run, it was definitely Bold Style that caught my eye. If you watch the run back, he was the only horse in the centre of the course, and he was very keen. And I would say Boiling Point finished. I know he finished second in it. I think it was by a neck or whatever. It was comfortable that day, but I feel like it's always been in the realms of Bold Style. Will be a better 3-year-old. He comes second on debut at Wolves. He looked not pretty babyish, but he looked very green. James Doyle handled him very tenderly. And he won very well at Chelmsford under Danny Tudhope. He never got serious at all. But it was the Newmarket run that did catch my eye, sorry. And he's always going to improve more than Boiling Point, in my opinion. Having less runs, having raced on his own in the middle of the track at Newmarket where the dip comes fast. It's not an easy track to tackle. First time he's been there. Boiling Point's already ran there as well, which sort of says to me he sort of had that run. He knows what is coming. To be fair, there is a good few ones, a good few horses in here. For me, it will be a tight race. But I feel like one thing which will stand Bold Style in very good stead, he did sort of, even though he was out in front and he was out in the middle of the track, he could take this up on his own if he wanted, in my opinion. 7 furlongs he should have no problem with. He's ran at 1.5 miles and a mile on the all-weather as a 2-year-old. For me, I think it's another stepping stone for the Godolphin team in a listed race. I think he'll go on at better things. He's out of Shandler, a new approach. His breeding's unbelievable. I think he'll do this one pretty nicely.
I love that, mate. I like it. Some fantastic insight there, mate. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's a bit of a running theme with some of these races. They are small fields, which is a bit of a shame because I do like an each-way play when it comes to the flat. But I'm going to have a very small tentative go on a horse I quite like the look of, and it's a horse called, if I get this pronunciation right, Queen of Zafine. There's a filly in this race, and I've sort of followed her form throughout the year. She's had 3 runs on the all-weather, and it's just a horse I've kind of been in and around of myself with other horses that I've kind of been backing, and she's kind of put a couple of horses I've been on to bed quite easily. She was, and then she upped to listed level last time. She did come second, but I did think it was a decent race. Watched the trace up front, and it was a very tight finish. You're talking like a nose and a head between them all. So I just think stepping up here over onto turf. She was supposed to run a Group 3 fillies race, but she withdrew for that for whatever reason. But she comes here for a crack at this. I do think they think this is a group level horse. This is obviously listed levels. I know she's against the boys, but she does obviously get a little bit of weight. She gets the £5 from this lot. She's race fit. She gets the trip pretty well. I think she'll probably be able to handle the Newmarket, although she might not. So it's one of them. It is a bit of a risk. The big one for me was the booking of Ryan Moore. Obviously, he's started already on fire at the moment, and he's the best jockey going. And I just thought they've booked him, or they managed to book him. I think that's quite a telling sign that they think she's going to go well. So, yeah, it's a small bet. She's around sort of 8-1, which ain't a bad little price. I probably would just have a couple of quid sort of win only, but that'd be my selection in there. Queen is a fiend. I don't really know too much about the ones at the top, so I'm happy to take a chance on her and see how she gets on.
Good stuff, mate.
In terms of Rich, he actually went for Boiling Point.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did. I could try it. Let's see if this works. Might work, it might not. Watch this. Here it is.
Moving on to the 335, an all-listed contest. I'm going to side with Boiling Point for Wadrivarian, I think he is. Finished a short head second behind the 2000 Guineas hopeful Alan Narby in a Group League contest here back in September. I think that's really good form. Back in third was the Godolphin Eben Shadar, I think we'll go with, who finished behind another Guineas hopeful for Hannon, the Hartem. He bolted up at the Craven meeting, so I think that's really good form. So he'll do for me.
You heard it here first.
This
podcast is just brilliant, isn't it? The high quality. Honestly, this is the place to be. Folks. Right, let's move swiftly on then, Joe. Go to the 410 tomorrow. Another nice race, Jockey Club Stakes, Group 2 this time, 1 mile, 4 furlong. Decent ground. You've got Ryan Moore's in here for Harry Charlton, Time Lock. Also know a little bit back from last season. Castleways in here now with Buick on, the boys in blue. Another one for them. Doylers on King of Conquest. Astro King's in here. McQueeb, Outbox, and that's the field. Who are you on here then, Joe? What are you thinking?
It's a tough race, mate. I did back Time Lock earlier on in the week at 3-1. I did not think Castleway would end up here, which he has. Obviously, Time Lock being a mare, pretty highly tried mare, but only getting £3 off Castleway. Now, Castleway's reappearance in Maidan, pretty under the radar, highly tested Group 2. William Buick was on that day, and he did go off favourite, got beaten by Bold Act. You had an Appleby 1-2, and he was in fourth. But before that, I mean, you go to York, and he was 3 1/4 lengths behind Continuous, who went and won the Ledger. He was ahead of Gregory that day. Now, I know this course, Newmarket, he was ahead of Tower of London. If you remember that ride, Ryan Miller dropped the whip, and it was a pretty shocking ride from Ryan, but nevertheless, Castleway was there. He was there to get shot out. He took it up pretty early, and he did last home. And I just think, his Beatles Circle of Fire victory dance. He's got pretty good form. He progressed through the handicap. He had a run in a handicap at Newmarket off a mark of 89, won that by 3 lengths pretty easily. Stepped up into group company and didn't look, out of his depth. In my opinion, anyway, definitely out the top two. The one thing I would say is Castleway could maybe stretch them here. Like he did with Tower London, and we know how good Tower London is now. Time Lock is 2 out of 2 at Newmarket, but I think I am just going to side with Castleway. I think the form's slightly stronger, especially with him being a 3-year-old last year. Form ties with Continuous and Tower London. Probably, Aidan O'Brien's, they'll be in his top 10 string of horses from last season or, this going into this season if they are training on or whatever. Obviously, we know Tower London won very well last time and he's been spoke about in Group 1 category. I know this is a Group 2, but I feel like the Maidan reappearance was pretty low-key and that's why he is 3-1 now. I think if it was at a Newmarket track or something like that, he'd be a lot shorter. He will have to improve, but I feel like as a 3-year-old going into a 4-year-old, he will. And I probably would say 3-1 is a fair price. A lot of the time, like Endless Victory, you look and you think, well, even money on that, I'll save my money for another day. Where this, I feel like 3-1, it is a very fair price because in my opinion, there's 6 runners. It's a top 2 race, and I do think the boys in blue will get this one.
Fantastic. So you're with the top 2. Let's see who Rich is with, shall we?
The last race on the Friday, the 4:10 Group 2 contest. I'm going to side with Time Lock. She's unbeaten at Newmarket in 2 runs, both winning by quite decent distances over the 1 mile 4. There's not much between her and Castleway for Godolphin, but I think because she gets the mare's allowance, I think that just might swing it for her. So Time Lock for me.
Oh, Rich is with Time Lock then, Joe. He's got against you, pal.
I know, again.
Well, I've got against you both. I'm going to go for a bit of an outsider again, just to see if anything lands. And it's actually seen a little bit of money, but I've landed on Astro King.
Yeah.
I quite like the chances of this horse. I think it's a tough little race, but this one stepping up in trip is what interests me. There's a little bit of an unknown, and I quite like that. It was staying on last time in a Group 3 behind Ottoman Fleet. Thought it was a decent run. They didn't go too quick of a pace, and it kind of become a little bit of a dash sort of towards the end. But it was off a break, and they were staying on, and showed some decent form last season, and stepping up in distance now to 1 mile 4. I think kind of could be sort of anything, could improve any sort of level. It is a small bet for me again. It can get sort of. I mean, you're looking at 6-1 at the moment, which isn't too bad. It was 8-1 when I looked earlier, but 6-1 now. Again, you're not getting the 3 places, so it's more just a little bit of a winner-only play. But King's Goat's on, he's a decent jockey, and like you say, a bit of race fitness, and I think could probably run close. May not, may do, may not. It might be tough at this level, but we shall see. When they're stepping up this much in distance, sort of 2 or 3 furlongs, it could bring out any sort of improvement. So yeah, I've decided to stay away from the top 2 and try and take them on with one that maybe a little bit fitter, having run years ago.
That's probably one annoying thing I do think about day 1. Well, tomorrow of Newmarket, you're not really getting many each way plays. You bet like you're picking there. I bet you'd love it. 2 extra runners in there, and you'd be able to get a 3 place each way, and you're looking at a good each way bet where you're probably playing a small win bet, which is a bit frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously you can play for 2 places, but I just think for each I want. It's a shame we can't get 3 places, but usually I'll knock mistakes down, just play smaller players on it, and just see if they can land money. If they don't, well, it's no harm done. It's only a few quid in it, so I always say, bet responsibly and enjoy the racing. That's why I always say, big advocate for that. Don't be doing your knackers in on these early flat races, top, because it's so hard to get, and you don't want to be doing your nut too early in the season. If I'm honest with you, so yeah, I'll stick a couple of quid on Astro King and see how he gets on. Right, we're going to move to Saturday then, Joe. This is where I might start to struggle a little bit, but we'll just have a nice good chat about it because that's what we're here to do, and we love it. We're going to go for the 110. And this is a listed fillies and mares Class 1 race over 6 furlong. And you've got star guest in here for Appleby Buicks on board. Funny story, Unequal Love. Obviously, Unequal Love was one of Richie's favourite horses last year. Did a few good winners for him. for him last year. She is going to run well, he'd like to think. Heritage House, Silent Words, and Bigger the Rest. Glorious Angels, actually, in here, an absolute rogue of a horse, so I backed probably 4 times, and then the one time that she won, I didn't back. So what are you thinking here then, Joe? Talking about mate.
I do think it's a very tough race. One I am going to side with again, and it's probably sounds very boring and repetitive.
Are you Mr. Godolphin tonight, Joe? What?
I am, and I just can't get away from it. He's got a 40% strike rate here, and I mean, if you look through, and every horse seems to have like a bad run in there. I did really fancy Funny Story, but you look and some of the results, it is over 5-6 furlongs. It is quite hard to gauge. But I just think Starguest, last season, he started off at Lingfield, finished second, pretty green, learning on the job. Second string that day, then went to Kempton, even money favourite, got beat by Twirling, half a length. Then won at Lingfield, and he got a mark of 76. He got beat on handicap debut, giving Zara's return over a stone, and got beat a length and a half. Since won twice, he was rated a mark of 87. He won off a mark of 87 pretty comfortably at Newmarket last season. But the one that strikes me was at the end of the season, he was a non-runner in a Group 2 at Keeneland. That sort of says it all for me. He's got the speed. This is a listed race. I like the way you looked at, was it the first race with, was it Endless Victory, where you're seeing that the horse had been withdrawn from the Ryan Moore booking?
She'd been withdrawn from the Group 3. Group 3 fillies, they withdrew her self-cert, so she's obviously then coming here for a listed race instead. Although it is against the boys this time, obviously, it'll still be as hard. But yeah, I think they obviously think she's a group level at some sort of scenario. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's sort of what I like here. Getting a few pound off Funny Story, a 4-year-old, so again, definitely will improve. Out of Dabawi and Shanrell, unbelievably bred. Has clearly got speed because was entered in a 5.5 furlong Group 2 at Keeneland. Fair enough, wasn't on runner, but to go to handicaps, to even being entered in a £174,000 race at Keeneland is pretty mad. Shows how highly they have her in their regards. And I just feel every horse in here, I know it is 3 places, so you probably could go for the each way angle. But in my opinion, every horse in here, it has a 0 next to its name or a 6 or whatever. I did quite like Funny Story, but Rafe Beckett in the last 14 days, he's had 22 runners. He hasn't even had a winner. Do you know what I mean? So they're clearly not firing in form. For Applebee's 50%, Buick's 23%. They're absolutely flying. I think 11-4 isn't a bad price. And Equal Love, probably is a very good handicapper. But for me, he is a handicapper. Watching him the last day at Newmarket, and I just think here everything's set up for a speedy 6 furlong for Starguest. And although he hasn't had many runs, he's had 2 runs at Newmarket on the July course and 1 run at Newmarket in the May. He's finished first and second. And the second was the time where he was giving over a stone away. So I think, he's got the course form. 11-4 is not too bad of a price.
Yeah, again, I think it's all fair points there. What I'll do is you can probably guess who Rich has gone for, but I'll stick his little selection up. Hope you're enjoying these short and sharp videos from Rich. I certainly enjoy when he only talks for 20 seconds, so I'm loving this.
Saturday, 1:10, a listed race. I'm going to side with Unequal Love. She's a podcast favourite of mine from last season. She finished 4th last time out at Newmarket, but there wasn't a lot between 1st and 4th. So hopefully she can step up this year and achieve some big things.
Unequal Love for Rich. Right, yeah. So again, I mean, I sort of said on the show the other week when we spoke about a little bit of the flat, I always find it quite tough early on. So I kind of have a bit of a rule of thumb when I'm trying to follow horses who've already had a run. I'm not really one for taking risks on one off a break unless, it's a race that we're looking at and we kind of have to do. But the one I kind of landed on here, just to take a bit of a chance on improving, is Heritage House. This is an each way play. If we're getting 3 places, I'm happy with that. You can get 7-1. It currently says on here, and it's one of the 3-year-olds in the race. And I just think the last race, was a decent run. I thought come back off a break, 160 days at the course, over a little bit further, so over 7 furlong, and it was a Group 3, and Pretty Crystal won the race, and Heritage House was beaten 4.5 lengths. Now, I quite like the look of that form. Dan Sequence, obviously, in second. It was the Neil Gwen Stakes, the Group 3. And now we've got this one dropping down to 6 furlong, down into listed level, fillies and mares race. I just think it screams potentially that if they think this horse is a group level filly, then she may well go close here, dropping down in grade, dropping down in trip. And yeah, she just caught me fancy. And like I say, race fitness against, the likes of An Equal Love off 203 days, Star Guests off 200 plus days, Funny Stories off. A lot of these are off the layoff, and I just don't like the horses coming off the layoff. So I'm more than happy to take a chance, Callum Shepherd on Heritage House, that she may well go close here, being a winner over 6 furlong on decent ground. I just think it screams that there might be a big run in her in this race. Yeah, that's the one I'm going to go for.
Good stuff, man.
I don't know if she's won over 6 furlong on Good to Firm. And she's run pretty well at Newmarket previous times. Like I say, either on heavy ground or over further. So dropping back, decent ground, race fit. Ticks all my boxes, Joe. So what do you think of that?
You can't have much more. To be fair, I did look at her. What is she carrying? 8 stone 10 or something?
8 stone 12 she's got.
8 stone 12, sorry. Yeah, it's not a bad shout, mate. Like I say, the main thing for me, like what was Starguest, was they started out over a mile, ended up in a 5.5 furlong at Keeneland, was clearly doing something at home with speed. I just can't wait to see how she gets on and how quick she is. But yeah, like you say, them are the races you want to attack. Where you're getting 3 places, where you're watching horses who haven't had a run, have had a run. You've got to take everything into consideration, not like a 5-runner tactical field, 2 places where you could pick the best horse in the race, but they just might not get the run, they might not get a lead, you just don't know.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting race, and hopefully we get one of the winners. Right, moving on then, the 255, the William Hill Palace House Stakes is Group 3, Class 1, 5 furlong. It's going to be a rattling quick, good ground. Beautiful diamonds here, 3-1 favourite currently. Mitbahi is in it at 7-2, Kurdos 11-2, Twilight Call 6-1, The Dream 8-1, and sort of 16-1 bigger the rest. Who are you going for in this race? And let me know, Joe.
Who have I gone for? I've gone for last year's winner, The Dream. I think 8-1 isn't a bad price at all, to be honest. I just feel like he's had the run. He had the run at Bath in the listed race. Broke slowly, looked a bit sluggish. Kept on for 3rd out of 13 runners. Wasn't a bad run at all. He's off 9-6 again. And to be fair, the form of last year's win looks very, very good now. You've got Living the Dream in second. You've got Russell in there. You've got Silky Wilkie in behind. Twilight Calls, Corker, Equality. You've got some decent horses in there. And I just think, he's got all the beating again. I mean, he clearly wasn't fully fit for his reappearance. He's a year older now. The talk sort of, took a different route. They did have him out about 3 times before that on the all-weather and on the grass. They brought him out at Bath. They had, I'm not sure what jockeying, but it wasn't Kieran Schumacher. It was Callum Shepherd. Kieran Schumacher's on, who won the same race last year. I feel like 8-1 isn't a bad price for a race where you probably do need a lot of experience. It's a 5 furlong dash round Newmarket. It's not going to be easy. You've got the favourite in there, Beautiful Diamond, who's never ran at Newmarket. It's a pretty short price to be taken for a horse he was going to come here and get the hill. It's the same for the second favourite as well. Ran here once, Mitbahi, 10th. He's ran here once, he's finished 10th. And you're taking not an each way price. I think Vardream's a decent price at 8-1. They'll have him spot on for this. Kieran Schumacher on board, who won on him last time. It wouldn't surprise me if he went off a bit shorter, but I think 8-1's a fair each way price, to be honest, mate. So that's the angle I'm going for that.
Love it, mate. Let's see what Rich says.
The 255, the Group 3 contest. I'm going to go with Beautiful Diamond. Finished third at Royal Ascot with Relief Rally in second, who I think is a good sprinter. Yeah, that'll do for me.
Short and sharp. I'm loving short and sharp, Rich. Me, I'm absolutely loving short and sharp, Rich. Right, where did I come down on this? Again, it's the tight races, Group 3 listed levels. I think it's quite tight. You've got improvers in here, you've got horses coming back off breaks and stuff. The one I kind of liked at a little bit of a price, I'm just kind of looking at it again, but T Spirit caught my eye a little bit. You can get it 16-1. Reappeared not that long ago at Newmarket on good ground, 5 furlong, albeit it was not the best race in the world, but went and won it pretty convincingly. And I just think coming away from the top of the market, won at a bit of a big price. This horse is going to absolutely fly out of them gates, I think, and going to get off at the front. And, could be hard to peg back. Don't get me wrong, may well get swamped, but I'm sort of 16-1. I'm happy to take the punt on that one. The fact that he won really well last time, albeit at a lower level, but I think this sort of, a little bit of an older horse coming in here with the experience, obviously handles Newmarket well, has run well there in the past off, lower marks and at decent levels. So, yeah, it's a step up in grade for him, don't get me wrong. He needs to take a big step forward again, off a rating of 99. But do they see that he's come on a lot further this time round? Normally does go well fresh. Obviously went well fresh and won. Do they think, right, we think we know what we've got here, let's chuck him in at the deep end in a Group 3 race and see how he gets on. If he can bolt out and get away from the front, he might be hard to catch, he might not be. It's one of them, it's 16-1. It's worth a couple of quid to find out when you've got sort of... like we said there, Beautiful Diamond off 225-day break. Twilight Calls. I think I just find it hard to back them sort of horses at shortest prices. Although 3-1's not too bad, but yeah, backing them off breaks, I think it's quite tough, especially on decent ground. They're going to have to be fit and ready to go. You know what I mean? You still need to get that sort of trip, even though it's only 5 furlongs. You still need to be ready to go. So yeah, I just thought I'd take a small punt on T Spirit. Goes well on the ground, the trip, and there's a bit of an unknown at this level. So he'll either step up or he won't. It's one of them, really. It's that simple.
Good pick, mate.
Yeah, that'll do for me. That, yeah, like I say, a couple of big price punts will do me this weekend. Right, lads. Well, lads, I say, Joe, we're going to do the big one on the Saturday. Although I don't know what much we're going to say about it, but the 335 is the 2,000 guineas, Group 1, and the current favourite. There'll be a lot of people on Twitter, I think, on big prices for this horse for a very long time. City of Troy 4-6, Rosillians in here 11-2, Notable Speech 10-1, 16-1. The rest. What do you reckon to this? Is there any point in going through the rest of them? Obviously, every one of these bar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to talk rubbish. What do you think, Joe? City of Troy, does he look the real deal? Is he the real deal? Does he bolt up? Does he win?
Yeah, he wins. To be totally honest, I'm surprised he ain't shorter. From what Aidan's come out and said, this is one of the best he's ever had. He's got everything. One worry, maybe. Aidan's had 26 runners in the last 14 days. He's had 3 winners. For the horses that he's brought out, it's pretty poor. But I cannot see this lad beat. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant, isn't he? It just showed last year, they missed a few races with him when he wasn't, A1 100%. For a horse who's had 3 runs, he's pretty impressive, isn't he? The way he won at Newmarket in the Dewhurst was absolutely frightening, to be honest. And every race he's won, there seems to be winners coming out of it. The form's getting boosted. He seems completely bulletproof. One angle that I am going to take, though, if I was a betting man, I would take the angle of Iberian for Charlie Hills and Tom Marquand.
Good horse for us last season.
Very good, mate. It's a huge price at 28 to 1. They thought a hell of a lot of him. He ran at Doncaster where he was second behind Hartem. I think you tipped him up that day, James. When he was last, he was keen. He was dwell at the start. He didn't have a great run through. He was only beaten a length. And then he went to Doncaster. And I know it was soft ground, but he put Rosallion in somewhere to bed pretty easily. And then he did run in the Dewhurst, and he finished 9 lengths behind, but it just didn't happen for him that day. And you've got to forgive a 3-year-old for a run like that when he was pretty flat out at Doncaster. I just think 28 to 1 for a horse who won a Group 2 last year and was tried in a Group 1, and he was pretty fancied in that Dewhurst. And he was very good at Doncaster, wasn't he? There was no excuses for any other horse. I just think 28 to 1 in this field, you don't know what improvement you're going to get. But I tell you what, he was impressive that day at Donny. And if he can, come up to near that again, if the rain does come, I'm not sure it will, but if the rain does come or it doesn't, either way, I do think he will be bang there. And like I say, he's rated 113. If you can get extra places and you can go top 4, I can't see him out the top 4, to be totally honest with you. I really can't.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there. I think looking down sort of the list, he did kind of stand out to me. Obviously, it's an horse I've backed before. I was there at Donny when he won, and I thought it was a great performance. Does he want soft ground? I don't think he needs the soft ground. He's a good ground.
He doesn't need it, but I feel he doesn't need it. But I feel like
it'll help.
It'd impede others more than it would impede him in terms of, Rosallion that day at Doncaster. They sort of blamed the ground. They said it was a bit tacky. City of Troy, I believe, good to yielding. They withdrew him on that in the Curragh. I know he won over soft at Newmarket, but he's out the question in a way. Otherwise, I'd be backing him to win. But the Godolphin horse 3 times on all weather, Ghostwriter. He's been good to firm, and good. I feel like if the rain does come, this is one horse who probably it wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, he won first time out last season on decent ground at Newbury. Like I say, won at soft and don't. I mean, you don't get me wrong. I mean, City of Troy does look, an exceptionally talented horse, and to be honest, I don't mind sitting back and just watching them sort of horses go and win. I kind of hope it sort of demolishes them, you know what I mean, and think fair play. But at the same time, I'll probably have a couple of quid each way on Iberian just because he's a really nice horse to me. I want to follow him and see how he gets on at this level. But yeah, I don't know if they're due any rain. Maybe I have to have a look, but I think he'll run a big race at a big price. I think, but I think City of Troy is just going to be very, very tough to beat. But yeah, I won't spend too much time on it. I think I'll just sit back and I'll watch the race with intrigue and see how they all get on, and maybe try and pick 1 or 2 out of it that could maybe go forward with them and see if we can find something else for later on in the season.
Yeah.
We'll see who Rich has gone for.
On to the big one on the Saturday, the 2,000 Guineas. Slightly gutted that Ancient Wisdom wasn't declared, but as my second preference, I want to go for Rosallion for Richard Hannon. Odds-on favourites don't have a particularly good record in this race. I think only 2 in the last 30 years have gone on to win this at odds-on. One of them being Frankel. So, we'll side with this guy. Hannon, I think, recently said that his work's been electric. He's put on some good weight, hopefully some good muscle to see out the 1 mile. Sean Levy picks him over Hartem, who was impressive at the Craven meeting. I'm sure he said that Rosallion's a quicker horse than him, so hopefully that's going to stand him in good stead for this and, get the win.
Thought we were talking about me then. We were about putting weight and muscle on, but
good work.
No, I mean, Rosallion's definitely an each way player. I think that him and Iberian, so that little form line there, the Doncaster form line, could be one to follow. I mean, I'm not going to be back in City of Troy at 4-6. I'll happily go see him win. And I'd have a couple of each way on Iberian and maybe a couple of quid on Brazilian as well. So why not?
One question I will ask you, obviously,
Well,
and Rich mentioned there, and I was going to mention it anyway, about Frankel being one of the winners. Do you think City of Troy could reach them heights or not?
It's a very good question. I don't know. It's a tough question to ask. It's a good question. Potentially. But then again, it might be tougher nowadays than it maybe was back then. I don't know. You could spin it either way, couldn't you? Obviously, if he goes and bolts up in this, he's got the chance to go and do it. But hopefully, he does, and we get to see him more than a few times, and he keeps going.
Yeah, I definitely think he's the closest in the new era to what we've had anyway. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you can get a lot of hype horses. You've had your Killians and your stuff like that for Carl Burke, who are always talked up, we're always shorter than what they ever should have been coming to a racetrack. I feel like this lad could be a lot shorter for what he's done anyway, and for how he's been spoke up. And I just think he literally does have the racing world at his feet, I think, at the minute. Like, I'm buzzing to see him run. Like you say, I haven't got a bet on him. I don't intend to have a bet on him at 4-6, but I just can't wait to see him run.
Yeah, fingers crossed he puts on a show, mate, to be honest. Right then, that's kind of it for that, the main race. And obviously, we've got Sunday, Joe, and I'm sure you've managed to have a bit more of a better look than I sort of have. I've not had that much time, but the sort of 3 races on Sunday. If you'd like to, if you've got sort of a selection for those, you've got the Pretty Polly listed race, the 150. Have you managed to have a look at that one, mate? And we'll just sort of rattle through these last few.
Yeah, I like the favourite, to be honest, Kalpana. Quickly turned out 18 days after, Oshin's on for Balding. Balding's sort of hitting a purple patch at the minute. He's had 39 runners. He's had 10 winners. Stepped up massively on the handicap debut at Newmarket, winning by 10 lengths, and he only looked like he was getting going. 1 mile 2 looked perfect for him. He'd been over 1 mile. His starts at Wolves and Newcastle, the switch to turf handicap and 1 mile 2 looked perfect. You don't really know what you have in here. Rafe Beckett has one, Gosden has one, Simcock has one, all with 1 run last year and 1 win, and over 130 days off. And there's a few like that in here, which you sort of just don't know what you're getting. But I feel like this horse here for Balding, has sort of took them by surprise anyway, coming out, winning a handicap of 76 and I think 10 lengths. It's not a flattering 10 lengths, put it that way. He was eased down. And they were pretty well bunched in behind as well. And it wasn't like it was a steadily run affair or anything like that. There was 9 runners. They were going. Align the Stars 10 lengths behind Asilian, half a length behind GoDaddy, 1 length behind him. Stormy Waves, the 5-2 favourite for Appleby. That won a handicap before this finishing last season. Beating the Camden Colt, who's rated, what is the Camden Colt rated? 90. So I think in there you've got form lines that look pretty good. Was off a mark of 78. He's obviously going to have to get a lot higher than that, but 10 lengths, you can't get any more impressive than that. And I think I'm gonna side with him here. What about yourself?
Like I say, I've not really had a chance to look at Sunday, so I'm just going to let you sort of give us your take, and we'll see what Rich has got, because you guys will be a little bit more in the know, and there's not much going on the declaration side.
Sunday, the 150, the Pretty Polly. I'm going to go with Winter Snowfall. Beat Danielle last time at Chelmsford, who was very impressive this week. I think she won by 12 months at Weatherby, so potentially that could be some good form. So I'm going to side with Winter Snowfall.
Winter Snowfall. Fantastic. Right then, we'll move on to what was the other race, Joe? The 225 on, the Dahlia Stakes Group 2. It's a shame we haven't got Rich on, because he's normally quite good with all the stats. We did a lot of things on stats, but last time, but he'll have them all up on his Twitter, I thought. But you've obviously got Running Line in here. Silver Lady comes back in here. Who are you thinking? Which way are you signing on this one, mate? Is it an Oshin double?
It's a pretty tough race, mate. Oshin clearly thought a hell of a lot of this. Do you remember what race was it? Running Lion didn't come out the stalls or got withdrawn for. Was it the Group 1 at Epsom? the Oaks. Soul's sister won. And he looked absolutely heartbroken. But to be fair, his runs after that didn't really back it up at all. And he's clearly shown quite a bit, and he hasn't shown it on the track. He was pretty highly tried. When I do like a decent, I say decent price. I think he's a decent price. Is Carnathan 6-1, Davy Probert on Jack Channon. I would normally be worried about the time off, but I always look at this at the start of the season, especially what trainers are in form and the strike rate percentage wise. Jack Channon's 24% strike rate for not a massive yard, which is always a massive boost. Carnathan did race in the Oaks and he finished third, 2 lengths behind Soul's sister and ahead behind Save the Last Dance. He was ahead of Heartache Tonight, who's in here, Eternal Hope, Bright Diamond. And after that, he went to Ascot in the Group 3. I'd say, it was a modest sixth, wasn't miles behind 3 lengths. But in there, you've got form ties again. You've got Drumroll, you've got Bold Act, who's won well for the Godolphin since Waipero went to Hong Kong. I just think this horse was highly tried last season, two Group 1s, and his reappearance was probably one of the best runs of the season he'd had. He finished 4th in the 1,000 Guineas behind Morgan Tahira. So that's why the layoff sort doesn't bother me. That was a Group 1. He's in a Group 2 here. I'd say the top 2, Silver Lady and Running Lion, both, have it to prove where this been in there and done that. I think 6-1 isn't a bad price at all. And I think that if he was trained by a Haggis, an Appleby or whatever, he'd be a lot shorter. So I'm going to take that route at 6-1 in each way play.
Nice, mate. And here's Richards before we do the last race.
The 225 on Sunday, the Dahlia Stakes. I'm going to go for Silver Lady, a horse that I was quite keen on last year. Saw her finish 3rd at York. She seemed to improve somewhat to 1 mile, winning a Group 2 over in Meydan recently. This is 1 mile 1. Hopefully, he can keep bringing out the improvement. And we'll go with that. She beat English Rose over in Meydan, who was well fancied. That was Buer's pick. So, hope she can go well.
So a decent pick from Rich. Right then, mate, the final race that we'll cover. We won't bother going through Puncher's Town. Obviously, it's dying down a little bit. We'll just put anything up for that on Twitter. We'll keep this all about the flat and let's get excited this season. But the 1,000 Guineas, Joe's over a mile at 3:40 on the Sunday. Fallen Angel for Burke's currently in his favourite. Yang Lang, Lao Lang Lang for the O'Brien team. Dance Sequence, See the Fire, and 10-1 Bigger the Rest. Who is your 1,000 Guineas winner, Joe?
I could be sticking bias to this one. I do have a decent bet on this horse at 12-1. But I do really like Dance Sequence. The way Appleby spoke about him last season when he won the Group 3 at Newmarket. After the race, he said that, we did have a lot of people saying, you could have took him somewhere else, you could have took him other places. And he always said he'll make a better 3-year-old, he'll make a better 3-year-old. The reappearance was slightly disappointing that he didn't end up going past Pretty Crystal. However, I don't think he was too harsh on him. It was over 7 furlong. The time that was clocked was pretty fast. He looked very green. She looked very green, sorry. Very babyish. Very babyish. And I just think even after the race, he still mentioned, she's going to go at the 1,000 Guineas. She's going to improve. It's a step up to 1 mile. She was only getting going. She took a while to pull up. And, when you've got a race like the 1,000 Guineas, I remember last year, you had the Aidan O'Brien hot pot in there for the 2,000 Guineas, Augusta Rodin, who didn't fire at all. And that's one thing I've sort of been looking at. That's why I've gone for an each-way play in the 2,000 Guineas, because I just think Aidan doesn't train his horses flat out for this. He normally has them dotted round throughout the year. And I just think for for sort of a man who dominates Newmarket as much as he does, to keep mentioning Dan Sequence in the Guineas sort of realm, to have her reappearance run at Newmarket, and then stepping up to a mile. I feel like everything's set for her here, to be honest. And I love the fact of a prep run in a big race like this. Not many horses have had a prep run in the 2,000 guineas that I did like the look of. But, you're looking through and, out the top 4 in the market, Dan Sequence is the only one with a prep run, which I think's mad, to be honest. And, Appleby thinks she'll definitely improve. I think the prep run counts for an extra £7 in here. And I think Dan Sequence at 5-1, it is pretty short. It's clearly the Godolphin, hand though. But like I say, I think I don't know if you're on at a bigger price. I know we mentioned it, but I'm on at 12s. I'm pretty happy with that. If Fallen Angel can and is fit, will be some performance to beat her. Got £10 to find. However, I do think the prep run in these type of races is huge, and I think Dan Sequence each way will be a bet.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I didn't have to look too long at this race myself. I'm with Dan Sequence as well. Like I say, I like a prep run. I think she's going to go pretty close against a very open field. Like I say, a few of these off the back of a break. We have backed her at a decentish price. I didn't quite get 12, but I got a little bit on at a bigger price. So I'm happy to stick with her, and hopefully she can reverse that form and go pretty close and take it potentially. But yeah, it's a nice weekend race. It's not much that I keep saying, but don't go diving in too big. It's more of a look for the rest of the season type of weekend. But let's finish on Rich and see who he's gone for the 1,000 guineas.
Oh, we know.
Sunday, the 1,000 guineas. I picked Moors last year for Godolphin. I'm going to pick another Godolphin horse here, and I'm going to go for Dan Sequence. She finished second at the Craven meeting, beaten by a neck. I thought that was a good run, a good start for her. This will bring her on for the 1,000 guineas. Buick picks her over Cinderella's Dream. So yeah, hopefully she can run well and get the win.
There you have it, folks. The winner of the 1,000 guineas is Dan Sequence. So that's a bit of a podcast nap with all three of us landing on her. And fingers crossed you can go and win. Right, guys, that's sort of it for this evening. Like I say, a nice run through of the flat, the first big weekend. A little bit of housekeeping really to finish, sort of going forward. A few of you may know, may not, but the plan is to have a show on a Monday night, which will start next Monday, which will be a little bit of a sort of eye catchers where we're kind of going to give an eye catcher each. Obviously, we had the Cheltenham Anti-Post show, but we'll do it a little bit different this time. It'll be an eye catcher each and a few other little bits of reviewing on the weekend and potentially some other surprises. So make sure you watch out for the first show on Monday. And if we can pull off what we think we may have pulled off, it may be the biggest start we could have imagined. So fingers crossed that happens. We shall see, but we definitely have some good plans already in place going forward for that Monday show. So hopefully we can kick off with a bang. And then we can carry on achieving what we want to achieve. Like I say, thank you all for watching. Do you get any final words before we kick off at the flat?
Yeah, like you say, mate. Just a word on the jumps, really. I know we sort of haven't had a final show type of thing. But, wow, really enjoyed the jumps. It was my first sort of season going to Aintree, Cheltenham. Experiencing it all, speaking with you, people who have, watched it for 20 years, been to Cheltenham countless times, more years than I've been alive, been following it, and it's unbelievable to be fair. I've really enjoyed it. But yeah, switching to the flat now, I can't wait. A few good meetings to look forward to, a few that I know we'll be going to, me, you and Rich together. And yeah, like you say, if we can manage to get these surprises that we hope, it'll be another sort of season to forget on the different side of the spectrum, the flat, and, just growing the podcast. People who normally for the flat season when Jumps podcasts sort of calm down would leave, hopefully they're thinking, well, these lads can do it both, they're getting, I don't want to give too much away, but, hopefully we'll bring what we did for the Jumps for the flat, and I'm sure we will.
Yeah, that's a plan, mate. Like I say, the jumps has been fantastic. We had loads of jockeys on. We've had stable tours and all sorts. The shows have been brilliant. Loads of winners, loads of laughs. It's been class. The flat is a sort of different beast. Hopefully, we can keep the momentum going, and we still have people tuning in, and we can bring a little bit of excitement from the flat and try and bring a bit more of the actual flat game into us. I mean, we're fans at the end of the day. If we can bring a bit of the actual sport into that, I think we'll hopefully achieve that, and it'll be class. So yeah, a lot to look forward to, and I certainly can't wait. Like I say, follow us all on Twitter. Please do like the video if you have watched, and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate it. We're almost at the next subscriber goal, so it'd be great to hit that and kick on through the flat. So yeah, watch out on our Twitters for Monday's show. The details will be up very soon. Yeah. Most of the selections will be up on Twitter, so if you don't bother watching, you can find them on there, but hopefully you do watch anyway, and you enjoy it. So yeah, cheers, Joe. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all again next time.
By the way, Dan Sequence wins the Guineas.
Dan Sequence wins the Guineas. You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. Right, adios and goodbye.